This week on Vaticano, we celebrate Easter with Eastern Christians and reflect on the role of division of Christians in the conflict in Ukraine. We bring you inside the Pontifical University of the Holy Cross to reflect on the challenges and opportunities of church communications today. Walk with us through Rome, decorated for Easter, and learn from Cardinal Pell about the need for divine mercy in our lives. For this and more, Vaticano starts now. Following Pope Francis' reaction to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the Holy Father is taking every opportunity to advocate for peace. The Holy Father has expressed his desire to visit Kazakhstan this year in September. The remarks came following a bilateral conversation via video conference between the Pope and the Kazakh President. The Holy Father is invited to participate in the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions in the Kazakh capital of Nur-Sultan. The 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions is a platform for religious diplomacy. The unprecedented event will bring religious leaders from over 50 countries together at a round table. And among the invitees are leaders of Judaism, Buddhism, Protestantism, and even the Russian Orthodox Patriarch of Moscow, and Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayeb, with whom Pope Francis recently signed the document on human fraternity. The theme of the Congress will be the role of religious leaders in the socio-spiritual development of humanity after the pandemic. It's expected that the leaders will come up with a joint document in the form of a declaration, which will be a blueprint for the role of religions in the post-pandemic world. Pope Francis' visit will encourage the faithful that live in one of the farthest peripheries of the Catholic world. The Central Asian region is predominantly Muslim, with a tiny Christian minority. And Pope Francis' trip will mark the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between Kazakhstan and the Holy See, and 21 years since the visit of St. Pope John Paul II to the country in 2001. The first Sunday after Easter is Divine Mercy Sunday. The feast was officially designated by St. Pope John Paul II in the year 2000, when he canonized St. Faustina Kowalska, who was a big promoter of the feast and who taught the world the prayer of the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. But even before the official designation of the feast, St. Pope John Paul II created the Divine Mercy Shrine here in Rome, inside the Santo Spirito in Sassia Church. The shrine provides daily confessions, masses, and prayers of the Divine Mercy Chaplet so that people can experience God's mercy. We caught up with Cardinal Pell after he celebrated Mass at the shrine on Gaudete Sunday, in joyful expectation of Easter, and asked what God's mercy means to him and how we can live it in our ordinary lives and in our families.
Mercy means forgiveness, offering forgiveness, asking for forgiveness. And as followers of Christ, love is the central love of God, love of one another. Love means following the commandments, love means forgiving, love means treating others the way we would like to be treated ourselves. Being Christian means being merciful and asking for God's mercy.
Peace be with you.
Cardinal Pell stresses that mercy and forgiveness go hand in hand, and that we should learn forgiveness from Jesus.
Sometimes very, very difficult. It is the most difficult commandment that we have to forgive, not just those who hurt us, but eventually those who hurt our loved ones. I remember at a marriage encounter meeting, a wife and mother saying, you decide to forgive, you express that forgiveness, and generally, if the feelings are not there initially, the feelings follow. Forgiveness and mercy go together.
Stay with us, and at the end of the show, we'll have a look at the Shrine of Divine Mercy and walk through Rome, decorated for Easter.
Hello, and welcome to this week's Vaticano Updates, the most important news from the Holy Father and the Vatican. Cardinal Krivesky prayed the traditional Stations of the Cross on Good Friday in the devastated village of Borodyanka, northwest of Kyiv in Ukraine. A photo of the papal almoner circulated on Twitter, showing Cardinal Krivesky kneeling at a gravesite. He said him and the papal nuncio of Ukraine stopped to pray where they found many dead, and a grave of at least 80 people buried without identification. Pope Francis has appointed new members to the Pontifical Academies of Sciences and of Social Sciences, including Nobel laureate Staniel B. Prusiner. The U.S. physician heads the Institute for Neurodegenerative Diseases at the University of California at San Francisco and was awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1997. Prusiner is henceforth a member of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. In Aleppo, Syria, Christians were able to celebrate Easter for the first time again in St. Elijah's Cathedral. Built in 1873, the cathedral was partially destroyed in 2013 when it fell into the hands of jihadists who set it afire with mortars. The building was restored thanks to the help of charitable organizations such as the Papal Foundation Aid to the Church in Need, which contributed 400,000 euros. Bishop Georg Betzing of Limburg, president of the German Bishops' Conference, responded to a letter warning the country's synodal way could lead to schism by defending the process as a response to abuses in the Church. Bishop Betzing wrote to Archbishop Samuel Aquila of Denver that the synodal way in Germany is an attempt to confront the systematic causes of the abuse and its cover-up. More than 70 bishops from around the world signed an open letter sent by Archbishop Aquila on April 11th that warned sweeping changes to church teaching advocated by the synodal way that may lead to a schism. Thank you for watching us on this week's Vaticano Updates, and enjoy the rest of the show. I'm Rachel Lanz for EWTN Vaticano.
This year, on April 24th, the Orthodox Church will celebrate Easter. In Ukraine, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers will attend their respective Easter vigils in their trenches and bunkers. The split between the nationalities also manifests itself in their practice of religion. In 2019, the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople recognized the independence of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church from the Russian Orthodox Church. This fired up the tensions between Moscow and Kyiv. Religion plays a key role when it comes to national identity. While Russia always saw Ukraine as part of its territory, the majority of people living in this region increasingly turned towards the West, trying to break away from their eastern neighbor. Independence from the Moscow Patriarchate was another pivotal step. One of the most renowned experts on religion and dialogue, especially with the Orthodox Church, is Cardinal Kurt Koch, the president of the Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity. He has worked for years to improve the relations of the Catholic Church with other Christian churches. EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief Andreas Stonhauser sat down with him briefly before Easter to discuss religion and the war in Ukraine.
Eminence.
Eminence. The days before Easter mark the time when we contemplate the suffering of Christ.
The world has its eyes on Europe, the situation in Ukraine, the suffering of the people there. How do suffering and salvation go together? What could promise us hope, seeing the situation in Europe today?
Every time it is a surprise. Good Friday is loud. There is hammering. There is thunder. The night of Easter, however, is calm, silent. Only when the miracle has happened, the resurrection, one recognizes it. We see this also in the world today. The war and all these things that are loud and noisy. It is a real danger that we stop on Good Friday and Holy Saturday, that we lose hope and no longer believe that this will allow something new to rise. The great miracle. Pope Benedict XVI said that the resurrection is the biggest explosion of life that came through Christ. The mystery of Easter should motivate us to gain new hope despite the terrible reality.
Let's look on this conflict in the Ukraine, where also religion plays a role. Could you tell us which role religion exactly plays?
I would not say that religion plays a role, but the abuse of religion plays a significant role. In Ukraine, Christians are killing Christians. Orthodox kill Orthodox. And that is something terrible. The Russian Orthodoxy sees itself as a defender of persecuted Christians around the world. And this is a wonderful idea and important. We have to raise our voices for the persecuted. But when Christians start to kill each other, how credible is this? Therefore, I support what Pope Francis has said. A religious legitimization of the war is blasphemy. Whoever legitimizes war in the name of God does not speak in the name of our Christian God.
Cardinal Kurt Koch isn't the only one who finds strong words for the situation in Ukraine. Also, Pope Francis addressed the ongoing war in his Urbi et Orbi blessing in front of 100,000 faithful in St. Peter's Square for Holy Mass on Easter Sunday. Together with the Pope, they all prayed for peace.
Our eyes, too, are incredulous on this Easter of war. We have seen all too much blood, all too much violence. Our hearts, too, have been filled with fear and anguish, as so many of our brothers and sisters have had to lock themselves away in order to be safe from bombing.
Also during the Easter Vigil the night before, the Pope spoke about the invasion of Ukraine. At the end of his homily, Pope Francis acknowledged the presence of the mayor of Melitopol, Ukraine, Ivan Fedorov, who had been detained by Russian forces last month. A Vatican spokesman said that the Pope also met briefly with the delegation of local government officials from Ukraine ahead of the Mass. The Pope encouraged the politicians to do everything in their power to bring peace to their people. On Easter Sunday, he said,
We struggle to believe that Jesus is truly risen, that he has triumphed over death. Could it be an illusion? A figment of our imagination? No, it is not an illusion. Today, more than ever, we hear echoing the Easter proclamation so dear to the Christian East. Christ is risen. He is truly risen.
While Pope Francis recalled the Easter proclamation dear to the Christian East, Cardinal Koch reminds us that there has been a long process of strengthening the dialogue between the Roman Catholic Church and the Russian Orthodox Church. He is positive that also Orthodoxy as a whole could benefit from this dialogue. Therefore, the Vatican hinted in the days before Easter that a meeting between the Pope and the Patriarch could very well happen in the not-too-distant future. A symbolic yet neutral place would be Jerusalem. The Holy City would be close to Lebanon, a country Pope Francis intends to visit this June.
There was this conversation between Pope Francis and Patriarch Kirill of Moscow. For the Patriarch, it was very important to be in touch with the Pope. The Pontiff was, however, very clear in this conversation and urged for peace and an immediate end of war. He made it clear that it is the average person who is paying this very high price for war, the faithful, our flock. The Pope said, Non siamo clerici cello Stato, siamo pastori. We are not clerics of the state, but pastors. Therefore, we have to radically stand up for peace.
We're here on the rooftop of the Santa Croce University, right next to the Piazza Navona. 25 years ago, they founded the School of Church Communications. And with us today is the Dean of this faculty, Daniel Arasa. Thank you very much for being with us. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about church communications, why this is important, and what exactly are you specialized here at Santa Croce?
Well, we were born in 1996, this 25 years ago. At that time there were no communication offices in many of church institutions. So we saw really a need to fill that gap. And from the beginning we have been trying to prepare people that will be responsible for communications of church institutions of all kinds, spokespersons for the bishops, conferences, for dioceses, religious congregations, editors of Catholic media, and also people that will be covering the Catholic Church as a journalist, but knowing the Church from inside.
And from where do your students come?
They come from all over the world. We have currently around 120 students, but we had already more than 600 alumni spread all over the world. We have more than 50 countries, nationalities among our students.
Over the last 25 years, communication did change a lot. The digitalization, the age of online, the age of the internet also. How did this influence, how did this change your work? How did this change communication for the church in general?
From a quantitative point of view, it has changed a lot. There are many more resources, many more websites, more people dedicated to this area. I think that with the digitalization has changed also the preparation and the formation that people need. One element that I would remark is the importance of listening. The church now is an institution more in an environment, and particularly in the social media, that requires listening, proposing, accepting criticism, and I think this is something that we still have to learn more in the church.
The patron saint of this school here is Santa Caterina di Siena. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Santa Caterina di Siena is the patroness of Italy, the patroness of Europe, is also the patroness of the School of Church Communications. She lived in the 14th century, which was a troubled time for the church. As you remember, the Pope was in exile in Avignon. She played a great role in bringing back the Pope to Rome. She was very outspoken defending the church in the public arena. So it's an example for any church communicators, so we decided to ask her to be our patroness.
What would you say are the most pressing topics that the church needs to communicate well today to the public?
I think the church needs to improve his way of presenting to people as a merciful institution. Some people still see the church as an institution with rules, imposing a morality, which is not true. And I think Pope Francis is doing a great effort in this aspect. But we as communicators need to help in this activity, in this action, of showing the real face and the real interior life of the church, which is mercifulness.
You also engage in research projects. Can you tell us a little bit more about the academic side, the scientific side of the school here?
Of course, as a school of communications, we try also to improve and to develop research. We created in 2006 a journal, Church Communication and Culture. It's a journal in English, open access journal, published by Routledge. And with these journals, we try, I think it's very interesting the name of the journal. These three elements, church, communication and culture, are like a triad that shows the nature and the interdisciplinary approach of the journal. Still in some environments, church communications is seen as something churchy, preachy, just for priests, which is not true at all. And we want with this journal and with our research to put the church communications discipline at the same level of any other social science.
Thank you very much. All the best for your school for the next 25 years. Maybe allow me this last question. Where do you see church communication will go over the next 25 years?
It's difficult to say what will happen in the next 25 years because the communications is changing so fast. But there is a trend that I think is already seen in the church, which is this culture of communications in the church, this culture of dialogue, this culture of listening. And I think this is a trend that will have a big impact because the church will be an example or can be an example in a society which is very polarized. with lots of conflicts. We have now the war in Ukraine, but not only this, in politics, in society in general, there's a big polarization. I think the Church needs to be an example to show how people can talk even with different ideas.
Daniel Arasa, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome to this travel video. It's Easter season here in Rome and the Vatican, and in this video I want to offer you 3 places or activities to help you have the best experience possible just after Easter. So let's get started. The first Sunday after Easter is Divine Mercy Sunday, and so our first stop is the Church of Santo Spirito in Sassia. In 1994, Pope St. John Paul II declared this place the Shrine of Divine Mercy in Rome. Next to the image is a statue of St. Faustina Kowalska. Jesus appeared to St. Faustina in Poland and Lithuania, directing her to have an image of Divine Mercy painted, teaching her the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and asking her to have a feast established in order to make his mercy known. Pope Francis celebrated the Divine Mercy Sunday Mass here the previous 2 years due to the pandemic, but it returns once again this year to St. Peter's Square. So while it's possible to visit shrines to Divine Mercy in Vilnius, Lithuania, and Krakow, Poland, recent popes have also made it possible to celebrate the day in full glory in Rome. Next on our list, get outdoors and go for a ride. In Rome, it's possible to rent bikes or electric scooters, or as they're called in Italian, monopattini. This is Gianluca, he's our shooter.
Yes!
Let's go.
Follow you, Mr. Johnson.
When you go to the Centro Storico, you'll pass by more churches and Baroque fountains than you can count. This way and it's that way. I say we go this way. As a spring tradition known as the Infiorata, the Spanish steps are decorated with hundreds of flowers. After the ride, take in the view of Rome and its churches, and also share a moment to enjoy good times in Villa Borghese. The park was created by Pope Paul V's nephew, Scipio Borghese, in the 17th century, and is popular today among locals and tourists to spend the Easter days here. For a full Vatican-themed experience in nature, book a tour of the Vatican Gardens, or take the train an hour south to Castel Gandolfo, next to Lake Albano, home to the Pope's summer residence and gardens, which are open to the public. For the last on our list, it wouldn't be an Easter video without candy. Take a look at how large these Easter eggs are. While Rome isn't known for Easter egg hunts or jelly beans, These traditional Italian chocolate Easter eggs make up for it. Check out this one, which was donated to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI in 2012, standing 6.5 feet tall and weighing 550 pounds. When you buy one at a shop, don't hold back when cracking it open. There's usually a surprise inside too.